Today, we're just gonna keep kind of going down this flow of insights here. Um, I have some other videos too, but I try and every other video try and get like a financial one in. They're all to a degree financial, but more like just concrete information about my retirement plan. So you'll see we're gonna go over incoming expenses and savings today. So, true to form, let's start this out. This is where I'm at now. This is where I'll be at end of plan. Just some interesting tidbits. This morning I watched, I'm about halfway through it, the Joe Rogan, Elon Musk podcast. I watch it on YouTube sometimes. Um, it's good. It's interesting. Like, regardless of how you feel about their political viewpoints, it's just a great conversation that they have about stuff you wouldn't think of, or things that are so far into the future. You would think, oops, I keep looking up things that are so far into the future, you would think they're forever, and then they just get talking and you feel like the future is now. So that was something I was watching. What else I can say? And then one of the things that I thought was interesting, he talks about, um, Joe asked Elon, how's your response to, oh, he must be a failure because his rockets keep blowing up. And he was basically saying, well, that's in the plan because every time they send these, the spaceship that they're building, when they send it up, they test like different, um, endurances of the metal and things like that. But it kind of got me thinking about the retirement plan. Unfortunately, after retirement, you kind of don't get that chance to fail, and it's a problem with American culture to a certain extent because we've kind of associated failure with just failure when you may have nine failures to get one success. But unfortunately, with retirement, you don't really have that option. So the best thing you can do is have your plan, put numbers into your plan, emulate your plan in real life for a few years before you do it, and that's your chance at failure. Or at least you can get rid of those red flags before you actually retire. All right. So today we're going to go into, I left off at like lifetime cash flow. We're going to kind of go into, well, we're not kind of, we're going to go into income and expenses. Now, I've been in this tab a million times. So I feel like it's not really that, it doesn't reveal any super secret sauce or anything. But one thing I am finding is it's smart to look over these tabs and just pause. Like open it up, pause, and look to make sure everything makes sense. Start clicking around. Does that number look right? Because I was doing this morning, and savings is a much better tab. And I found some stuff that made me change a few things, not with numbers, but how I organize things. So, another thing I did see on Boldin, on their feature list that they're working on a feature, I guess, to make their grids more, or their graphs more up to date, more user friendly or whatever. And I only pray that means one of two things, that they'll give me some kind of grid format where I can click a button, it'll give me the grid so I can see everything really quickly on top of each other. Because I find their graphs to be okay. The graphs are fine. I just want it in tabular form. And maybe they'll support some sort of drill down. That would be cool too. Even though there's not a lot of drill down because they don't go to detail levels. So, okay, without further ado, after 3 minutes, let's rock. So income and expenses, not a lot here that you guys haven't already seen, right? We've covered a lot of this in the basics. If you were to look at like trending lines here, my wife's working now, so if you look at income, you'll see she's getting $78,000 at work, and I'm drawing down roughly 36,000. So if that's meaningful for you, and this investment income thing is weird. I don't understand. I make a whole bunch more investment income than this because I have a lot more in investments, but I'm not quite sure what this is. But 3 grand, that's the other thing you kind of begin to learn. Like 3 grand isn't going to rattle the plan either way. So the savings drawdown, and this for the most part is looking about right. Like I scope it out too, and I'm going to take this from some CDs that I have in for next year. Well, I already did it. I already did it at the beginning of this year. I take out this money and put it into different accounts, and there's a video on that too. No pension. So that's pretty standard, right? It's just more because cost of living goes up. So we're cranking along. It's still kind of blowing my mind too that Beth has to work 2 more years, but whatever. Part of that's her. So things really start changing here, right? In 2028 because Beth fully retires. Well, she retires, not fully. Um, and so I have her collecting Social Security, and she starts collecting her pension. So that's where you start to see some changes, and also our expenses should be going up. So 179, 180. Oh, maybe our expenses go up significantly in. Oh yeah, they go up 20,000 here. Here, let's go to the one prior. Oh no, they go up here. So it's 61. You'll see down here in expenses, the vacation kicks in, the $20,000 vacation. So that kicks in. What we may see is general reoccurring maybe going down a little bit because of food and stuff. Not really. It's the same. Um, all right. So I mean, that being said, so when she's 63, the 20,000 a year kicks in for vacations. So you'll see that's why our expenses go up to like 177 from 179. This is what's kind of weird. Like the only thing I can think of is that I have things going down significantly. I'm going to look into this a little bit. Like in all honesty, my expenses I would expect it to go from like 177 to 197, and this is the problem. I'm going to have a real hard time answering this question, and allow me to vent for a second, because Boldin doesn't give it to me. Like the best way I could figure this out would be to do a dump real quick of a detailed line item expense of what I'm spending in general reoccurring for that year. So if I look at general recurring as 115 and 116, so they should be, I guess general recurring is the same. Maybe we're all right. And then 20,000 for this, but then why isn't this 20? Where's my expense? Um, My income. Oh, I know why. See, this is me. I'm blaming Bolden. It's not Bolden's fault. My Roth conversions are creating my expenses. That's why. So I'm doing two Roth conversions in 26 and 27 to reduce my healthcare payments later. And so what's happening is if you look at what goes up, $54,000. So my reoccurring is 116. That stays consistent. It goes up by inflation. So, but what happens is my income taxes for those 2 years are huge, 54,000 in income taxes. But then that drops to a regular sustainable rate the next year because I'm not doing Roth conversions anymore. So okay. So again, I'm whining a little bit about Boldin when it's not Boldin's fault. So back to expenses. So you'll see the expenses are in there. Medical's going to hit me a little more because all of a sudden I'm paying for medical. So if you continue to cruise through here, that's nothing new. And you can see that in the color pattern here, that nothing's really changing radical. The orange, which is work, goes away. So you'll see the orange disappears from here to here. So, what you're looking for is like patterns. What is major changes? Like, oh, well, all of a sudden, how come this pick? And I guess this is what I really like about a tabular, because you can see the pattern real quick in the colors. You'll see what happens here. This is, me turning 67, so I'm beginning to collect my Social Security. So that's what you're seeing there. So we carrying through, patterns are roughly the same. Life is all about patterns, right? You're looking for weird patterns, especially in retirement plans. You're looking for patterns that look disruptive. So what's this? This is a different pattern. What's this dark green? Required minimum distributions. So required minimum distributions, as Kenny pointed out, are 75. I was thinking they were 72, but I wasn't. It's not a number I file into my head that closely. So you see the different color pattern. It hits this. I'm hitting required minimum distributions. So you'll see when I'm 75, my income is gonna my income is gonna outweigh my expenses by like 19,000. So I've talked before about that. How I'm probably gonna just start giving money away to my kids and stuff. All things being equal. So again, we're looking for patterns here in my income and my expenses. So you'll see in my income, this is the big house sale, which we're going to talk about some accounts when I hit savings. I might have to book it here. I don't like to spend too much time in these videos. And part of these videos too are, one, it's interesting for you guys, hopefully, but two, it helps you when you're looking at stuff, like start thinking that way. Okay, I'm looking for patterns. I'm looking for color changes across the thing. What's different? What's changed? So you'll see here, my expenses changes around in here, a lot my income, because I have to start paying rent. So this is for my long-term care facility, which I feel like I've told you guys about this before. I think I've even been in this page and walked you through it. So, some of the interesting things that are kind of mind-numbing is to think that when I'm 78, my Social Security between my wife and I will be 110 grand. Just seems unbelievable, but it is what it is for now. Um, so let's see. So nothing really crazy. Like, oh, just a reminder, if you guys want to know any information, if you're interested about stuff in my plan, feel free to put it in the comment. I think 100% of the time, if somebody asks a question, I'm either going to answer the question or do a video on it. And it doesn't have to be like, oh, some heavy duty. It could be, hey, Steve, what are you doing for this? And then I'll do a video on it because I try and respond to those. Um, so what we should expect to see is like what happens to medical. That's an interesting question. So when I go on Medicare, what happens to my medical? So let's just kind of look here. And I'm looking at my age right here. So at 65, my medical is 21,000 and it stays roughly the same when I'm 66. So all that means is that my pre-Medicare 65, I have it at like 650, 750 a month for each person. So it's interesting. It's interesting that you would think my medical would go down um, from 65 to 66, but it's interesting that it doesn't. You'd think once I'm on Medicare and everything that my medical will go down. So I think what that may be an indicator for me is that I may have allocated too much money in my medical, but we'll see. I'd rather over allocate than under allocate. And if you chew on that number for a minute, like that's after Beth and I are both on Medicare and I'm still forking out 22,000 a year in medical. It's like a couple thousand a month. That's probably a pretty safe estimate. I mean, it's probably high on the high side. So you can see here when I move in, this is the rent. All this green is the rent. And of course, up here on the top side, you're seeing a lot of the required minimum distributions. That's quite a hardy minimum distribution. Wow. 114,000. Wow, that's a pretty big required minimum distribution there. That's actually a lot higher than I thought. I thought the required minimum distributions were a lot lower. I may think that through. We'll see. Um, because that's a lot. I mean, that's a lot. I mean, I need it. Clearly, I need it because look, my income and my expenses match. Income expenses match. Income expenses match. So I don't know. Like, I don't know. Maybe I won't be giving away that RMD. Like it starts to give a little more later. Let's see what it does in those earlier years. So in the earlier years, during my go-go years, it looks like my RMDs may kick me up above. Because look, I have like 20,000 extra there. I have a buttload extra here, but this is from the sale of the house. 263. So it's funny. It seems like when I hit 78, even though I'm doing required minimum distributions, my expenses are matching that minimum distribution. Now you could argue, well, you're paying tax payments, maybe if you're taxed, but there's no way lower tax payments are going to make that much of a difference. Unless it was taxed at 100%. So I would say generally, in the thing I've learned from this right now as we're going through it is that one, my required minimum distributions after I hit 78 seem to match my expenses. And that's because I'm not in the go-go years anymore, I guess. Okay, so let's just cruise through that. Anyway, there's nothing down here that's, just some blah, blah, blah articles. So I don't see anything in here. I mean, you can read their suggestions, look at accumulated lifetime totals. Honestly, they're informational, but I don't know if I really care about lifetime. I care more about year to year if it's realistic. How different is your income? So you could do that, switch between pessimistic and optimistic. I'm not going to do that just yet. I have a video on doing that anyway, and you can do that just as easily as me. All right, so let's look at savings. I'm kind of doing things that I think are unique to my plan that may spur some interest in your plan. Okay, 13 minutes. I got like 2 minutes left. So I'm gonna start into this. I think this is a great tab. I'm I'm just gonna tease you with this one, and I'm gonna do another video maybe right now. I'm gonna stop this one, go on to the next one, because this has all the different accounts you have. It has your your amount of what you're making in those accounts, right? Your investment returns, which it's not like you do tons, but it's fun to know. It encourages you. And then withdrawals, which is actually, to me, this is super important because this is where I plan to go once a year. So, and I may have put that already in the withdrawal tab. So, or in my withdrawal rates. I will take a look at that video to make sure I'm not duplicating too much, but that's the beauty of YouTube, right? If I've already covered it, you can just fast forward through it. So again, I'm at 14 minutes. So I'm going to wrap this one up. Again, that Elon Musk and Joe Rogan, highly entertaining. Big thing taken away too is watch out for your that unfortunately with your retirement plan, you only get one chance. So you really got to plan for that boy and try and simulate failures as best you can. And and the last point is, if you have any questions or anything you want me to show you guys out of my plan, just let me know, and it gives me a reason to do a video anyway. So, all right, so take care. Talk to you later.